one of the operators raises their hand in one of the meetings. Okay, well, is the CEO or anybody over at corporate doing this stuff? I don't know. Let's check into that. And come to find out, no, nobody at the corporate office is doing this. Well, we've run into problems at the corporate office with this thing and this thing and this thing. And if change starts at the top, according to this book and this thing they want us to do, why aren't they doing it? And so that created this huge pushback culture.
Your business is doing well. You're having a good time with it. I mean, I say that because you should have a good time with your business, right? But
Right.
something needs to improve. Something needs to get better. You're not sure what, but you're reaching out for help. And here's one of the guys you could reach out to help with and for and ask about. His name is Joshua Rockwell, or Josh for short, from Rockwell Process Consulting out in California. Hi. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Chris. It's great to be with you again.
Yeah, this is the second time for sure. We talked once before about what you do, but let's establish some credibility here. You help businesses improve their processes to make things more efficient for them and ultimately increase revenue. Is that what you do?
That's right. That's right. Often in very hidden ways that people aren't aware of. So it's nice to find them and point those out to people.
That's great. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been doing it really my entire career since the late 90s, but I've been doing it on my own for about 5 years now.
It's just you at this point? You don't have a team?
That's right. I'm hoping to add some people on later this year.
Okay, very good. What is the conversation like? Somebody realizes that they could be doing better. They're doing okay, but they could be doing better. And they've reached out and they found you on the internet or wherever they found you. What's that initial conversation like with somebody?
Sometimes people know what they want to do. Mm-hmm. They may not have the time, money, and resources for it. Other times they have a vague understanding of what area they'd like to work on. We know our waste is high. We know we'd like to reduce downtime. We know we'd like to free up more time in a certain department, something like that, but they just don't know how to do it. And sometimes the conversation is just, we don't know what we don't know, and we'd like you to see if you can figure something out for us, see if you can find some hidden value. I'll first try to find out if there's something that they have their mindset on or an area they'd like to work on and dig into that. Always going for the path of least resistance when you're looking at change, right, and improvements.
Right.
As humans, we're prone to avoid change. So I look for the low-hanging fruit, something that's quick, easy, free to improve, and then kind of branch out from there. Once I start digging into something, I'll usually find a handful of more opportunities, and then it's just a constant process from there of uncovering, peeling the onion, and then reprioritizing as I learn more. And it's not uncommon for things to be constantly changing priority depending on what you learn.
I love that term, peeling the onion, because when you peel back layers, oh gee, that doesn't look right, and we can fix that and that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's a constant back and forth of asking questions, hearing answers, and both sides, me and the person on the other side, going, "Oh, I never knew that. Oh, wow, maybe we should focus on that now."
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Obviously, it depends on the size of the business, but generally, in a general term, how long do you spend as long as it takes, I suppose, but it could go months, right? In theory, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean finding the opportunities and figuring out solutions, that's the easy part. That can take minutes, hours, days. It's the convincing people to make the change, and that's the hard part. That's the part that takes weeks and months, sometimes years, to really convince people on some really big changes to make.
Yeah, years.
Overcoming the fear, uncovering what the uncertainty is, the concerns. That's the hard part.
Okay. I wanted to establish some credibility, Josh. Tell us a story of a company where you made such an improvement with them that they saved. Well, give us you told me once before, but I want this audience to hear it in case they haven't seen you before. Millions of dollars?
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's not uncommon in the larger companies. The Fortune 100 company that I worked with them for 3.5 years. And over that course of time, saved them, I believe it was $31 million per year in operating costs. Just another day at the office.
Was it? Was it another day
and
at the office?
yeah, and when I walked in to just tour the place in my wingtips, so to speak,
Yeah.
I got introduced to the production floor by an engineer that worked in the other department, and just said, "I'll be in the control room. Let me know when you're ready." Walked through both machines, and by the time I got to the other end, 30 seconds later, I had already found over $1 million in opportunity.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
you just walk through and it's like this. Here's my list. Almost, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's that easy. Sometimes it's that obvious. To me, I've been to over 200 different facilities
Right.
and worked with tens of thousands of people. So
Right.
I've got a pretty wide breadth of knowledge, and I really get down into the weeds, spend a lot of extra
Okay.
time digging into things. So I got a depth of knowledge as well. So yeah, that $1 million opportunity took me almost a year to convince them to actually implement it. So
Wow.
easy, like I said, easy to find. Easy to find the solution, hard to implement.
Now, how
But
do
that's what makes it worthwhile.
yeah, these people that you onboard or they onboard you or however that you want to say that, but obviously they know they need help. It's like I can equate it to something that I've seen on TV where Gordon Ramsay. They know that the restaurants
Sure.
that know they need help, but they hate it when
Yeah.
Ramsay gets there and starts screaming at him about this, and all the bad stuff in the kitchen. Does that stuff?
Yeah.
Does that kind of? I don't mean that vulgar or whatever, but does that kind of stuff ever happen where you come in and say you have to change this and this in order to make it better, but they resist and we've always done it this way or whatever? Do you ever get that kind of resistance?
Always. Maybe not always, but all the time, like very often. And it's common. I mean, I do it. This is the way I've always done things. We always push back on stuff. It's just human nature to
I guess
resist
so.
change.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it's fun, and I usually start with the disclaimers of I'm not here to take anyone's job. I'm not here to make anyone look bad. It doesn't matter why things are the way they are. Let's just make them better. Let's do it together. Let's all be heroes together. Let's learn, and that's what I do. It's a teaching and learning process to build trust with people.
Okay.
And that's what can allow
Trust.
change to happen. In
Trust.
my experience, is you've got to build the trust first.
And that happens over time. Let's talk about the culture a little bit. I mean, you go in and you do your first your walkthrough, your meetings with the personnel, and you start making suggestions, and over time, over days, weeks, or whatever, months, however long it takes, you can how's the generally the reception and the culture seems better and more uplifted, and things can be more I'm looking for the right word, positive. I'm speaking from a layman viewpoint on this, but
Sure.
things improve, the culture and the feeling, I guess, improves over time. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've been into some a couple of very good cultures over the years, but mostly they're not great cultures. Meaning, like, when I say good, I mean like everybody's kind of floating on a cloud. Everybody's happy to be there. Everybody's having a great time. Progress is being made all the time. It's just all around a great culture. I find very few of those, and that's not to say that everyone's bad, but there can be pockets of subpar culture within companies. The leaders define the culture.
Leaders,
And
yes.
I've been challenged over the years of, well, does performance create good culture? Does good culture create good performance? And I would argue that good culture drives good performance.
Yes.
You can have good performance with bad culture, but you're never going to have great performance and great results
Right.
with bad culture.
Yeah, because the people, the personnel, the workers or the employees are doing their job, sure, so they can get paid, and they got to keep things moving smoothly.
Yep.
But they don't enjoy it as much as if it's a good
Right,
culture.
and you're not getting 100% from people. And I've actually had a plant manager say that to me about one of their operators. And a few days prior, I had a conversation with that operator, and just kind of called him out on catching him with his feet up on the forklift, in a hidden area. And I'm not the boss, so but I was just curious, like, what's going on? And he's like, I just don't. I'm not feeling it today, And I just kind of give it 80%. I give it a little more than enough to just skate by, but this toxic culture, I'm not giving it 100%. And then I had that conversation with the plant manager a couple days later. It just sort of came up again, and he said, I'm just not seeing it with, we'll call him Tom. I'm just not seeing it with Tom. I know I'm only getting about like 80%. I know he's got more. and just the exact same number came up. And he was not the type of person to listen to the kind of culture recommendations that I have. I tried, and he'd just kind of throw it in my face and make fun of me about it. But it really worked.
Wow. Okay. And as the changes you suggest are embraced and are implemented, the culture generally gets better. Correct? Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. In that particular place, it was an extremely toxic culture. That the plant manager would scream and yell and swear at people, constantly berate people in front of groups of operators, groups of managers, and no one was immune. He'd do it to operators. He'd do it to managers. You just didn't want to be in the crosshairs there. Over the almost a year that I was there, I was able to slowly spend time with the operators on different shifts and build the culture, get people to work together, solve conflicts between operators and managers sometimes, to the point where people got along pretty well. You still had that toxic person at the top, which it kind of forced us to plateau at a certain level of culture, but people wanted to progress past that. They enjoyed working hard, doing well, but they just didn't want to put out that extra effort to get backhanded if they made a small mistake, or even if something went wrong within the facility that wasn't their fault. Something broke, and someone would get berated for that.
Oh, and it wasn't their fault. They would get berated anyway. Yeah.
Right. So that was tough, and it was just a constant battle of building people up so that this guy could just smack him back down. And I had a few conversations with people, like they were about to walk off the job, and it's like, I know you don't want to do it for this guy, but can you do it for me? Yeah. And for the rest of your team, because if you don't do it, B shift and C shift are going to suffer. I've got to answer for that too.
Yeah.
We're all going to suffer. And I get that you don't want to do it for him, but like, put that aside for a second and think about all the rest of the negativity that's going to come from that. All right, fine, and once they kind of saw the cascade effect of that, after just the immediate lashing out for the tit for tat, they kind of saw it. And so I was able to elevate the culture quite a bit. Good. But, like I said, it always comes from the top, so you can only get to a certain point.
That leads me into something else I wanted to ask. A lot of times when a company is only doing mediocre or is toxic, as you say, and could be doing a lot better, it's a result of the employees and the managers and maybe even the CEO of whatever not really understanding the company mission. Or what they're really there for to do. Yeah, you're here to manufacture this or do that, but what's the real mission? How are you helping? Where do the products go? I mean, what's the have you seen that actually, the mission statement not being known by like anybody, or they're very vague on what they're really there to do? I mean, physically, yeah, you drive a forklift, you do this and that, but what's the overall mission? And if that's lacking, I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that? Because I think that's part of it.
That's a great question, and I haven't really thought about it from that angle before. What I can speak to is I can give you an example.
Okay.
A place that was doing a rollout of lean culture, lean manufacturing.
Yeah.
They were doing bronze, silver, and gold certifications of their facilities, and they had the all the operators and managers within the facilities doing all this training, reading books, doing workshops, the whole 9 yards, full rollout. And we were reading in the books about culture and everybody being on board and change coming from the top. And okay, one of the operators raises their hand in one of the meetings. Okay, well, is the CEO or anybody over at corporate doing this stuff? I don't know. Let's check into that. And come to find out, no, nobody at the corporate office is doing this. Well, we've run into problems at the corporate office with this thing and this thing and this thing. And if change starts at the top, according to this book and this thing they want us to do, why aren't they doing it? And so that created this huge pushback culture of rolling out lean, which is supposed to make culture better and drive all these improvements, including culture.
Yeah.
And it starts at the top. And just massive hypocrisy in everyone's face of them not partaking in it. And they were challenged on it, and they said, no, we're not doing it on a big conference call. We're not doing that. We need you to do it. And so that was a big in-your-face denial. So yeah, it was it was pretty bad. And as you could imagine, that it was implemented because it had to be, but then it spiraled out of control pretty quickly, and it was an abject failure.
All because the CEO and the corporate people didn't want to partake. Yep. Do as I say, 100%. Not as I do. Is that what that
exactly was? Yeah, it was
that works
hypocritical.
Well. Yeah, that works real well. Wow.
Yeah.
Safe to say, though.
And I've seen that a few places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen it all, but you've probably also seen places where you go in and everybody says, "Hey, welcome, let's get started." And within a week or so, everybody's smiling and happy, and everybody's great. I mean, you probably have that in too. Right?
Yeah, actually, in the Northeast, I had a place I went to very early on in my career. The guy ended up becoming basically a role model for me. I was at a manufacturing facility, and they had a new plant manager come in, and he was kind of a quiet guy, but he always took the time to say hello to everyone he came across, to have at least a short, 30 to 60-second conversation with anyone that he came across. I saw him there for 5.5 years. As far as I could tell, he knew everyone, their family, everything about their families.
That's a leader for you.
You couldn't go anywhere without seeing him saying hi and having some sort of meaningful conversation from the other managers all the way down to the janitor and lunch staff. And they were meaningful conversations. And that place went from it was a part union, part non-union, part scab.
Scab? Oh, I know that word.
From a previous strike several years earlier. Yeah. So there was a tremendous amount of tension within that workforce. It was a while ago now, but within, I'm going to say, like probably a year, I saw a drastic change in the culture there from him having that sort of leadership style.
Well, if the leader if the CEO of something is right down in the trenches talking with the janitor and the laborers, that speaks volumes, because there are a lot of CEOs that don't do that. And that is very likely what changed the culture or made it good. So, wow,
everyone there knew he cared.
Yeah,
because he made it a point to show that he did.
A lot of leaders could take a lesson from that. See, listen to this, a soundbite from Josh. Soundbite.
I wish more did. I hope more do.
How many clients does your company have right now?
We're doing 2 right now. Hopefully taking on a 3rd later this month.
These are long-term things, so when you say 2, that's not a low.
That's right.
That's not a low number, really, though, is it? For what you do?
No, it depends on, where in the process you are. In the past, I've had up to 30, and you can juggle all that. A, by taking good notes.
Yeah.
And B, like I said, the sales process of selling the change, that's what takes the most amount of time.
Selling the change.
Just going around, cycling through the different places and checking in, making sure things are on track, chipping away at the change process, the implementation of change, the day or a couple of days that you're actually there doing the change. That's where the time management gets challenging, but it's doable.
We talked about this in the last time we met, but I wanted to get into the concept of sustainability and ESG, environmental social governance, because what you said before, I listened to our first podcast, I think yesterday, and you were talking about if a company becomes more efficient, they become more, environmentally efficient too, basically.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
so explain how that actually works. I think I understand, but
Yeah, so basically efficiency is reducing waste. And when you have waste, you're wasting time, money, and resources. And the resources part is usually the sustainability part. And so if you're becoming more efficient, you're using less resources to do something. Inherently your process is getting better.
yeah,
So if the process is getting better, your product or service is probably getting better as well.
yeah,
So with that can come a quality improvement. If the process is improving, you're interacting with it less. So therefore, your safety will get better. Your engagement with the process gets reduced. So therefore, your potential for hazards, interacting with hazards goes down. So your safety can improve. And then if you're using less stuff, time, money, resources, you're
yeah,
saving money. So you can save there too. So very infrequently are improvements just one thing, just
yeah.
quality or just safety.
Improvement.
It's usually hitting
Oh,
more than one of those things or all of them at the same time. Yeah. And that helps to define the business case as well, because oftentimes people just look at like making a change and what's the cost impact to the bottom line just on replacing material A with material B.
yeah,
Or changing the process and we use less of material X now. But they oftentimes overlook those other components that could
the
have
end result, and
cost savings as
the
well.
ongoing.
Yeah, or revenue
Yeah,
increases. And that can be the key to, boy, that's a great idea, but we can't swing it to, boy, we really need to do this.
yeah, and it's your job again to sell the change.
Yeah. And that's what I'm really good at is finding those other pieces
Oh, way to go!
to push something over the top.
So your website is rockwellprocessconsulting.com, and you,
It's a long one.
yeah, well, that describes what you do. There you go, and that's your
Yeah.
name too, so it
It's
kind
a
of
long
fits.
process.
Yeah, good. And you're also on LinkedIn, right? So we can get you on there.
Yes, sir.
All right. This has been enlightening. I think we're going to do it again at some point, and we'll touch on some other stuff too. But I asked you this before, but we're going to revisit. I think. What's your favorite movie?
Schindler's List is my favorite. It's a dark one, but it has a profound. It had a profound impact on me, especially the last few minutes of the movie.
Okay.
How the main character just sees all things around him and everything he could have done just a little bit more.
Yeah.
In the I guess in the culture that we're in, climate we're in now, it hits home even harder.
Yeah.
It'd be a good time to revisit that movie.
Okay. And if you had a time machine, you could go back and visit somebody who influenced you. You could do it just once. Who might that be?
Oh, time machine question. Someone who has influenced me.
Doesn't have to be anybody famous, really. It could be
Yeah, that's a really good question.
relative, maybe.
Gosh.
I stumped him.
Wow.
I
I'm
stumped
gonna
him.
just maybe go with maybe my grandmother.
Okay.
She was full of wisdom. She lived on the block around the corner, and she was just always positive, always happy, smiling.
Good.
I probably should have spent more time with her. I don't know what exactly I missed, but I'm sure I missed some good
Something.
things. Just hearing stories from the past, maybe stories of her. She moved here from Portugal, so maybe some more of those kind of stories of coming over here and what it was like to adapt to new country, new language. Adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been great to hear more of those stories.
Josh, do you have a tagline for your business? Like, or do you?
I don't. But one thing I say to people just as a joke is, I make everything better.
There you go. I make everything
Yeah,
better. There's your tagline. We just made one up.
yeah, yeah.
Josh
I've
Rockwell.
got a T-shirt.
Oh, you need that
I've
on
got a
it.
T-shirt that says. I got a T-shirt that says. It's kind of a condescending one, but it's funny. It says engineer, and then it's the definition. It says noun, and it says an organism that solves a problem you didn't know you had in a way you don't understand. But I educate so people by the end of it they understand
That is
it.
awesome. I love that. I'll have to look for that. You have to wear that on one of our other meetings that we do. Yeah.
Sure,
You should
yeah.
do that. Like we have one today, I think. No? Anyway, Josh Rockwell from Rockwell Process Consulting. He does make things better in many, many ways. So I want to leave you with this. Thank you for your time today, and live long and prosper. And I love that you did that. That's great. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Chris. Take care.